Hello and welcome to Sarat Chandra IAS Academy, where your dreams are our mission. This is Yatharth here. So today we'll be discussing important current affairs along with mapping. Alright, so let's begin with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and its 75th anniversary. So 75 years ago, the UN General Assembly approved the Universal Declaration of Human Rights at a meeting in Paris. So remember the name of the place? Paris. Alright, so here it was signed, laying one of the foundation stones of the international order that emerged following the horrors of World War II. So after the World War II, there were many things in World War, especially humanitarian crisis, Holocaust, you can say, the Nazi Germany. So those things were there, apartheid was there. Alright, so after that, many things changed in the world and the world order. So out of them, during a meeting in Paris, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights was signed. So Human Rights Day is observed every year on 10th December and commemorates the day in 1948 the UN General Assembly adopted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The declaration was proclaimed as a common standard of achievement for all people of all nations. So when we say all nations, we essentially say the members of UN. And UN is the biggest organization, you can say, in the world. And all of the members who belong to UN must follow the UN Human Rights Declaration. So what is the Universal Declaration? It's a relatively compact document. The declaration consists of preamble and 30 articles setting out fundamental rights and the freedoms. So let's very quickly see these articles and what do they mean. Alright, so where you can use it actually? You can use it in the mains answer writing. They are very basic things such as, let's say, SDG. So you can always begin your answers with SDG or Millennium Development Goals, MDG, or let's say UN Human Rights Declaration. So if you remember these things, let's say not all the 30 articles, but you remember the major ones briefly, then you can relate them to any of the other answers of GS3, GS2, anyone. So Article 1, we can say, states that all human beings are born free and equal dignity and rights. So this you can correlate to Indian Constitution as well. Alright, Article 2 says that everyone is entitled to all the rights and freedoms of declaration sets out without distinction of any kind, such as race, color. So this also you can see in Indian Constitution. Alright. Equality of opportunity and before law, you can say. So no discrimination, national or social origin, property, birth, or any other status. Another article state that everyone has the right to life, liberty and security of persons. So you can see this also in Indian Constitution, Article 21. And that no one shall be held in slavery or servitude or subjected to torture and to cruel, inhuman or degrading treatment or punishments. So you can see these things also in the Indian Constitution. So this is, let's say, freedom of life and movement, this slavery and servitude, or subjected to torture. This is again in the right to life, or to be cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. So the declaration states that all are equal before the law. So equality before the law also you can see in Indian Constitution. So if a question comes that does Indian Constitution follow the UN Human Rights Declaration, then regardless of your knowledge about, let's say, Constitution, you must also have knowledge about this UNHDR so as to be able to correlate both of them. So declaration says that all are equal before the law and that everyone is entitled to a fair and public hearing by an independent and impartial tribunal. So this is in our justice system. And it says that everyone has the right to seek and enjoy in other countries asylum from persecution. So this is very important one. It has been misused also. Let's say the countries are not on amicable terms with each other. So often fugitives take asylum as per their law leniency. Alright, so declaration enshrines the right to freedom of religion. This is also there in Indian Constitution. Freedom of opinion and expression. So this is again in Indian Constitution. And to freedom of peaceful assembly. And it says that everyone has the right to education. So again, this is also there, 21A. Okay. So the question comes why and how it was drawn up. So the declaration was born of the never again sentiment among political leaders after the two world wars. So basically, nobody wanted a third world war, which is essentially taking place in the world, but the world economy is so strong that it doesn't need to engage completely in the world war right now. So Russia Ukraine war, the Egypt war, let's say Israel Gaza war. All right, and what's happening on the other parts of the map, let's say the Yemen war. All right, Syria, the places in Lebanon. So the this is basically a spread out World War III. All right, it does not need to always be on a very violent front. It can be economic, sorry. It can also be related to food security. So we are essentially going through a war where we are competing with each other who can have more. All right, so sentiment among political leaders after two world wars and the Holocaust. The Holocaust, as you may know, it was a mission, let's say, or an organized chain of events planned by the Nazi Germany against the Jews and to exterminate them completely as a race. Alright, so on the top of UN Charter, the document that founded the United Nations in 1945, countries decided to draw up what UN calls a roadmap to guarantee the rights of every individual. What did it achieve, let's say? So it's not a treaty and it isn't legally binding. So whatever is not legally binding is basically an advisory. Alright, and if someone breaks that advisory, it's easier to put economic sanctions on them, such as in the case of, let's say, Russia right now. There are sanctions and Russia is going through them. All right. So it was under light during course of decolonization, Holocaust, apartheid. Apartheid was in South Africa. You all have read about this during when you read the Mahatma Gandhi's story, Gandhi in Africa. So, and now towards LGBTQ issues and rights of people in regions affected by the war. So there is large regions affected by the war. The 75th anniversary comes as human rights are challenged in the war between Israel and Hamas, Russia's war in Ukraine, internal conflicts in Myanmar and Sudan, and a host of other places and situations. Okay, let's move forward and very quickly see all these articles. So articles are right to life, right to education, about gender equality. This is very important. Sustainable development is again important. Anti-discrimination, social protection, healthcare access, labor rights, political participation, rule of law. So underscores the importance of just and accountable legal systems. Cultural rights, environmental sustainability. This is again very, very important. And access to justice. Humanitarian aid. This is again very important right now, highlighted in Gaza situation. Freedom of expression. These two are very important, freedom of expression and refugee rights. So many, you can say, political prisoners are here and there in other countries because of their freedom of expression. WikiLeaks can be seen as an example. All right. The founder Snowden, Edward Snowden. So he's a political prisoner somewhere else, a refugee somewhere else. Anti-corruption measures, housing rights, access to technology, freedom of religion, again important. Peaceful societies, children's right, indigenous people right. This is very, very important, the most important one right now, especially in the case of Amazon forest. The tribes are disappearing, the rainforest is lessening. Okay, disability rights and freedom from torture. Okay, furthermore, there is climate action. So in the light of recently held COP28, this took place in Dubai. So we talked about this in a different lecture. You can watch that. Access to water. Water we recently saw in Kenya. The issue. And I hope you remember the map of Africa that I told you about. Freedom of association. Digital rights. These ones are new. You can check about them. What are digital rights of a person? One of the most important one of these are right to be forgotten. Okay, there is global solidarity. So calls for global cooperation and solidarity to address common challenges. Okay, let's move forward. So EU's historical deal. What does the world's first law on regulating AI propose? So AI is a new thing. It emerged in 2022 and 23 specifically. All right, so we need to see how to regulate it also. So European Union becomes the very first continent to set clear rules for the use of AI after officials reached a provisional deal on the world's first set of comprehensive laws to regulate the use of artificial intelligence after a marathon negotiation between EU's parliament and EU member states. The European Parliament will now vote on the proposed AI Act next year, and legislation is likely to come into force by 2025. So, what we are seeing here is basically trying to regulate the AI. AI has no limits. All right, it's basically an artificial intelligence, and it can be made into various different things of softwares, which can process various different types of multimedia, whether it is text, such as ChatGPT and Bard. They can also address, let's say, or process videos, images. All right, so there with these things, with this technology comes many difficulties, and that is why it needs to be regulated. So, what is the EU's framework? Let's see, the European Union's framework. So, the legislation includes safeguards on the use of AI within the EU, including clear guidelines on adaptations by law enforcement agencies, and consumers have been empowered to launch complaints against any perceived violations. So recently, this was also seen in the UPSC mains evaluation. That first time the government is using AI in mains answer writing evaluation. The deal includes strong restrictions on facial recognition technology. This is also there in recently you could see this on airports. The AI has been used on Indian airports where you can do direct facial recognition, and the name is Digiyatra. So, on using AI to manipulate human behavior alongside provisions for tough penalties for companies breaking the rules. Governments can only use real time biometric surveillance in public areas only when there are serious threats involved, such as terrorist attacks. Recently, an attack happened on Parliament as well. You can read about that also. The legislation was designed to be much more than a rulebook, and that it's proposed as a launchpad for EU startup, etc. Okay. So AI Act would help the development of technology that does not threaten people's safety and rights. So EU's legal framework broadly divides AI application into four risk classes. On one end, some applications will be largely banned, including the deployment of facial recognition on a massive scale, etc. So high risk applications such as the use of AI tools for self-driving cars will be allowed, but subject to certification and explicit provision for the back-end techniques to be made open to public scrutiny. So you can read all this when I provide the notes. No need to dictate all this. What we need to see that there has to be leadership on regulation, and what are the different approaches by different countries. All right. So what's important here is this India's approach. The rest you can read in the notes only. I'll provide this on our Telegram channel. That is Sarat Chandra IAS Academy. Okay, so let's see the India's approach. So New Delhi has pitched itself especially to nations in the global South as a country that has effectively used technology to develop and deliver governance solution at a mass scale. So what are these things such as, let's say, UPI, Aadhaar, Digiyatra or DigiLocker? So these are the things, all right. These solutions are at the heart of what New Delhi calls digital public infrastructure, that is DPI. So this is a term you can directly use in your answers. Okay, where the underlying technology is sanctioned by the government and is later offered to private entities to develop various use cases. Now, India wants to take the same DPI approach with the AI. So, we are determined that we must have our own sovereign AI. So, we'll develop our own AI, not rely on the AI or code of other companies, let's say. We can also take two options. One is to say, as long as there is an AI ecosystem in India, whether that is driven by Google, Meta, Indian startups, or Indian companies, we should be happy about it. But we certainly don't think that is enough. With sovereign AI and AI computing infrastructure, India is hoping to focus on real life applications of the tech in healthcare, agriculture, governance, language translation to catalyze economic development. So, India has two approaches right now. You can see which one is better as per you and develop opinions about it. Alright, the next news we'll cover very quickly. That is about the Pinna Nobilis. That is a comeback hero, and we'll see how and what is it. You can see this in the picture. We'll see what is it. It's something marine. You can see marine. It also seems to be static, not moving, and something deposited or being shelved into the lower shelf of the ocean or surface. So that's all we know about. All right, you can see small holes here. So it can be a filter feeder. Okay, let's see what is this. So Pinna nobilis, also known as the noble pan shell or fan mussel, is a large species of Mediterranean clam. So it comes into the animal kingdom. It's the largest bivalve mollusk in the Mediterranean Sea. So it's found in the Mediterranean Sea and can grow up to 120 centimeter in length. Pinna nobilis is a filter feeder and plays an important role in the marine ecosystem by filtering seawater and removing excess nutrients. Pinna nobilis again is a sessile organism. Sessile means static, meaning it attaches itself to the seabed and remains in one place through its life. It is typically found in the sandy or muddy bottoms at depth of 10 to 60 meters, so not very, very deep. Pinna nobilis is a long-lived species with individual known to live for over 50 years. All right. So, what is the issue here? That it has been fished for centuries for its meat and shell. In recent years, Pinna nobilis population have declined dramatically due to a number of factors, including habitat loss, overfishing, and disease. Pinna nobilis is now listed as critically endangered on the UN IUCN Red List of Threatened Species. So it's critically endangered. What is the latest news about it then? Let's see. So huge clam that was the verge of extinction has made a comeback with a surge in numbers in waters of Croatia. So we'll see where is Croatia. Marine biologists say the clam known as the noble pen shell or Pinna nobilis started dying out as a deadly pathogen spread in parts of the Mediterranean around 2016. Numbers plummeted across the region, and until recently, scientists in Croatia only knew about 10 surviving in their corner of the Adriatic. So, what is Adriatic Sea? We need to see. Alright, this year biologists managed to collect about 100 young specimens and take them into an aquarium to preserve them basically. The clams, whose shell can grow as much as 1.2 meter across, play an important ecological role by filtering seawater and allowing other organisms to flourish. In the aquarium of the Adriatic town of Pula, they are kept in specially filtered water, clear of the parasites that can attack them. Now let's focus on the mapping portion, which is very, very, very important and my favorite portion personally. Okay, let's talk about this. Here you can see Turkey. If we begin from the, let's say, Western Asia. Okay, and here you can see Syria. The country is rather dramatic right now, leading through the war zones. You can see then Lebanon here and Israel here, both which are going through some sort of issues. Israel especially. Here is the Gaza and the Suez Canal and the Sinai Peninsula here. So here's Egypt and this is the Nile River. Again, very important. This is Libya. Just a second. This is Libya here. Then Tunisia, Algeria and Morocco. I asked you which traveler came from Morocco. You can tell me, Ibn Battuta. Tunisia, from here the Spring Revolution started. Algeria, a very big country from Africa. This is the Northern Africa, I hope you can see. Now, what connects the Northern Africa and the bottom of the Europe? That is the Spain here, the Strait of Gibraltar. Alright, and when we move to the east from Strait of Gibraltar, there's a big sea known as Mediterranean Sea or Bhumidya Sagar. Alright, so let's see the countries which border the Mediterranean Sea. It's Spain here, it's France here, then there's Italy having a large seaside border. Alright, here, and there is Malta. There are other countries now, which is Croatia. Here you can see they're very famous for their football. Alright, there's slightly Slovenia. Then there are small countries, Albania, Montenegro, Bosnia. So then there is Greece. Alright, and there is Greece here, Cyprus here, and Turkey here. Alright, so there are issues, geopolitical issues in this area between the Cyprus and Turkey, etc. for economic sea mining. Or ESZ reasons, you can read about them. Alright, when we move forward, we see the Black Sea here and the Dardanelles Strait here, just right here. And we see the Black Sea here. Alright, and Aegean Sea here, the Aegean Sea here. All right, so these are all the important portions in the map. Let's move forward and see some more. So the name of the seas I'll highlight just. This is the Mediterranean Sea, there Ionian Sea. All right, down from the Italy. You can see the Ionian Sea here. And on the west of Italy, there is this Tyrian Sea. All right, on the east of Italy, you can see the Adriatic Sea. Furthermore, when you will go to the east of Greece, there is Aegean Sea. From the Strait of Dardanelles, it connects to the Black Sea here. And we have already seen the Caspian Sea, etc. Furthermore, in the eastern side. All right, let's just see this Adriatic Sea here. It's on the east of Italy. Okay, this is Gulf of Taranto. This is Tyrrhenian Sea. This is Strait of Otranto. So these are the things. You can just see these countries in the map: Croatia, Slovenia, Bosnia, Serbia. A very famous tennis player is from Serbia. You can tell me who is he. There is Kosovo here, Albania here. All right. And here one more map, the Adriatic Sea. I'll send them all in the notes. This is Balkan Peninsula here, which has many countries: Slovenia, Serbia, Montenegro, Albania. Okay. And this is Italy. So you can revisit the maps anytime you want and keep going on. Italy, then comes the Greece here and the Aegean Sea. All right. So where we see that, let's say what we are talking about, the Pina Colabis. So it's here in the Adriatic Sea. All right. Okay. So this was about today's lecture. I hope you liked the lecture. We'll talk a lot more in the next lecture and draw upon more mapping. This is it for today. Thanks a lot. See you again.